Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knox Makers. This is Tuesday. We like to do our show and share every Tuesday. We have a sign-up list, so I'm just going to get started on that. First up is Keith with a wood vase.
Hello. I don't know if you can see this decent enough. Bloop. It's a bit more than a wood vase, but the vase itself is poplar and oak wood that I glued together and then turned down on the lathe. And then I used aluminum, like 8-gauge wire that I spin into rope to make the flowers. Then all the flowers themselves are just found object parts from bicycles. Most of it is from the shipping, like what comes on a bicycle when you build it out of a box, a lot of the plastic components that are on the flowers anyways. And then, I don't know if they're like stamen or pistils I used. Also some 8-gauge aluminum wire as well. I might be able to get this in here a little bit if you can see it. Did some burning on the vase to kind of give it a little bit of texture in the lines. Yes. Awesome. But yeah, that is it. Anybody have any questions at all?
Could you put the flower fork?
Oh, sure, yeah. So the middle one has some bit of a bicycle chain ring on it. That's the kind of teeth sides. I can't recall what the plastic bit was. That kind of, this dude here. I think that comes on like the cassette, which is the group of sprockets on the back of a bicycle. And then the aluminum, it's like a bar end for a bicycle with the little star etched into it. And then this one has the kind of bent up aluminum wire in it. And then these I know for sure are little like dished guys are on the wheels that come in the box so nothing smashes up against the disc rotor there. And then just some cogs from the rear wheel of a bicycle. And then same with the little kind of plastic bits here. That's like a spacer you get to adapt a front derailleur to the seat tube of the frame. And then I have there's like a rubber grommet right here to kind of help pinch it together so it doesn't kind of collapse under the bolt that kind of sandwiches it all together. Awesome. Anybody else? Excellent. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith. Next up is Laurie, who's going to show salmon shroom.
Hi there. So I'm doing, whoops, I wanted to show pictures. Come on, how do we get up? Oh, come on. Notice my face. There we are. Okay. So every year I try to do with my students, I teach sewing classes, and my students and I try to submit to the Dogwood Arts Synergy exhibit. And these are some of the pictures that, whoops, how do I make it go down? So this is Stuart and his radio, and this was made by Austin, who's 9, and it stands about that tall. And then this one is his name is what is it? Like Spike Gator or something like that. And his that was made by 7-year-old Grayson, and that one stands about that tall too. So it's kind of a fun exhibit to do. There's no theme or anything like that. So I decided I want to do something a little different, because typically I do monsters, and I wanted to do something a little bit more earthy. So first I wanted to do a sample. Oh, here it is. So I used a pattern that was about this size. So it's a little pattern like this. And I made a snail that looked like this. I have a little thing about snails lately. I've been raising and mating some water snails. So this is my snail. This is what I started out with. So using a pattern. And I liked it, and it was okay. It's like the eyes were a little funky and stuff, but I'm like, I think I could do better. And also I needed to make it bigger. So I used a pattern that was this big, and I adjusted a little bit. And I wanted to do something also with it, so I made a mushroom. So I made a giant mushroom for my snail, and I typically use fleece all the time, but this time I used some muslin, and I put beans in the bottom of it to weigh it down. I will need some help from somebody to possibly get this posted if it does make it, that I need to have it so it stands up. So maybe put on a plank. But I made this snail. So that's Shroom, and this is Sam. So I has little eyes, and I used a sweater to make a shell. So it was a little fun. And I put beans in him too, so he's weighted down a little bit. So this is Sam and Shroom, and he hangs out together. So this is something kind of fun. So I typically make monsters, so I like making animals. And for my daughter, I made her some mushrooms with beads and stuff on it this last year, and she liked it. So also, I made those two kids. Those are my kids are my daughter's in Michigan, so I don't get them together. So they're together for one day. So those are my kids. And this, because I'm mom. So I'm going to show you, this is one of my daughter's prints. I know, I'm going to show it off. So this is a print lithography that my daughter did.
It's based off of John James Audubon's print box.
She didn't want to do a show and share, so I decided to do show and Yes. Okay. And also last week, the amazing light that Russell made for commission was for me. And we learned today that there's an off and on switch. I thought it was broken, so we fixed it. All right. Thank you. Oh, are there any questions? Are there any questions? Any questions, anybody? No? Okay, cool.
All right. Next up is Neil, who's going to show wood lathe classes.
So first off, I apologize. I'm about a month late making this announcement, but I got stuck on some obligatory projects that needed to be completed. If you've been in the woodworking area lately, you see that there's some lathes out there that are on a rolling stand and so forth. We are about to start introducing or offering some wood turning classes. I think, as Brian told me, that there's been an interest in this for quite a while. I've been turning for about 40 years, and so I have a considerable amount of experience under my belt. The first class that we're going to offer, and I will be scheduling these classes fairly soon. The first one's occurring maybe in the last 2 weeks of January. So the first class will be a familiarization with the wood turning lathe, how to use it. Of course, the obligatory safety of not just working with a lathe, but also the woods that you're going to be working with. And get involved in some of the tools. I'll refer to them in the wrong nomenclature, the carving tools, but in reality, the wood turning tools that you'll be using, and then also methods of how to attach the wood and mount it to the lathe. And then the various types of turning, which will include spindle turning and then hollow form turning. And it will be somewhat of an intensive class. It should last about 2 hours. Might even get a chance to actually do a little bit of turning during the class. Initially, we're going to offer this 5 people at a time, and I guess that's about what I can tell you right now, because there's still a little bit more in the planning stage. Look for more information on the calendar. It will be posted no later than the first week of January as to when and where and so forth. Anybody have any questions about wood turning, where we're going with it? No? Okay, thanks.
That's amazing. Thank you, Neil. I know a lot of people are really excited about that. Next up is Ray, who's going to share Christmas cookies.
It's a lot better than my normal electronic stuff, right?
There GPS trackers in there?
Probably. Same chips in here that they put in the COVID shots. We got some of the surplus. So we made cookies today for our neighbors, and we said that these cookies didn't look good enough to give to our neighbors. So we decided to bring them to Knox Makers to share with everyone here tonight. And this one is apparently for one. You can't read that probably on there. That says Knox Maker. It's for one maker, not all the makers. But anyway, there are probably not as many cookies as there are people here. So whoever gets cookies gets cookies. These will be over in the hospitality zone. Enjoy. That's it.
Well, you're supposed to pass them around.
Yeah. It'll never get to the back, and I don't want to be, Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say they do look terrible, and we will get rid of them.
All right, thank you. Take one for the team.
All right, next up is Jonathan with a cutty board.
All right, guys. So I've been tasked by my wife to make a cutting board for a Christmas present this year, and I did not bring it with me because it has turned into something other than a cutting board. But I started off. It is a little overexposed, but I started off with just scrap pieces of wood in the woodworking shop. So went through and found some hardwoods, and the table saw was out of commission. So I took it to the house and chopped them up. But I went through and glued them all together, and I used clamps and said, okay, this is all fine and dandy. So then I used more clamps. And then I went home, and my friend told me, hey, make sure you don't over tighten those clamps. And so I came back to a slightly warped board the next day after the glue all dried. And so I said, oh, that's fine. I'll run it through the planer and get rid of that. And so I then ended up with a very beautiful piece of wood that I can use as a plaque on my wall because it's now only 1/4 of an inch thick. So went to Jeffrey's today and got some new wood, and I will share that one once we're once we get it put together. So lesson learned: smaller turns on the on the planer will not take away as much material. So, any questions?
How many times did it go through the planer?
I don't remember. It wasn't flat. It was still wobbly. So I said, okay, run it through again. And yeah, and then once I got to something that was acceptable, I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's only 1/4 inch thick. All right, thank you.
All right. Next up is Green Hose, going to show off a table.
Hey guys, so all this started because we've got this room in our house that basically has no furniture in it, and I had this great idea that I wanted to build a Purple Heart coffee table to go in that room. And I told my wife about it, which was a stupid idea, and she hated it. So my thought is I need to come up with a really cool design so I can just make it, and then it'll just show up at the house, and it'll probably be too heavy and she won't actually get rid of it. So that's my thought. So in order to go through the design iteration process, I need to make a few tables because I have kind of in general a design that I'm looking for. So we like mid-century modern. I want something roundabout, triangular, amoeba shape, 3 legs. So anyway, I have 3 of them that I'm doing right now. The best one will go to some friends of ours who we hang out at their house all the time, and they have this atrocious coffee table, and it like bothers me so much that I'm going to give them one of them. And then another one is going to another friend of ours, and then the worst one will go into a rental house of mine. So at any rate, I've got one together right now. It is not completed, but I figured this is kind of a fun time to see it while you can still see the process going on. And then 2 more are growing their legs right now, so if you want to check those out, you can. Put this in here. So, as all tables start out, some stock. So I have an enormous amount of hard maple that I picked up. I don't usually like making furniture out of it because I think just pure white is not particularly all that appealing. And I always tell people don't stain your projects because there's a tree out there that's the exact color that what you're looking for. But here I am. I'm going to color all of these things. So yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Here's where they are as panels. Let's see if I can get the exposure a little more correct on this. I don't know if that's any better. Yeah, maybe. Lamp, you said? Lamp? that better? I don't think it's better. We'll go with it. So there's the legs getting turned out. So I turn them round first at a lower speed and then turn it up and then turn them all into that shape. I have what I do to get that pin right at the end, so that tenon, is actually drill a hole and then I just keep matching it to the hole that I've drilled until they fit just perfect, and then you know that they're going to fit in the table when you're done. By the way, this drill bit right here, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll show it to you if you check it out. That's the best tool I've ever bought, sub $20. I think it was like $11. I can drill through 2 inches of hard maple with a hand drill with that thing, and it doesn't blow out on the inside or outside. It is the best drill bit I've ever seen. Definitely recommend it. Here they are all done. So again, they're all kind of amoeba shaped. This first one I did, can't see anything on it. By the way, I bought a carbide tip bandsaw blade to cut these things out, and that's the most amazing thing ever as well. I did buy it for myself. I am not going to lend it out, but if you ever have trouble cutting things on the bandsaw, for $200, you too can be excellent at bandsaw cutting. So all of my stock was just over 2 inches thick. I want it to look a little bit lighter than that, so I'm chamfering the bottom side. On a squared off table, this is relatively easy to do. On something that has no square sides, it's extremely challenging. So I have a big router bit. See this side. So a big chamfer bit. I put the chamfer on there. It's the biggest one I have. It felt dangerous the entire time I was doing it, and when I was done, I'm like, it looks stupid. So I ended up completing the chamfer entirely by hand, which, yeah. I did one table entirely by hand with a number 5 jack plane set up as a scrub plane, and the next day I couldn't lift my arms. So on the next one, let's see here. Here it is, like, you can't see anything. It's out there, you can check it out. On the next one, I got that far by hand. Again, you can't see anything. And then I went out and spent another couple $100 and just bought a powered planer. So it's a hand planer. It's the most dangerous tool I've ever seen. I can't believe they're legal. But I did knock out the other 2 tables in like an hour and a half. So that was like totally awesome. You can borrow it, but I need you to sign a waiver. Then I went out, and again, this is just, I didn't do any of this to save money, clearly. I went out and bought myself a spoke shave because I've always wanted one. And this is exactly what spoke shaves are designed for, curved surfaces. And you can kind of see the reflection on that. You could literally see like a mirror reflection straight off from the spoke shave. It was like super cool. So anyways, I took a picture of that so you could see it. Then I started adding the legs to it, and adding the legs is kind of fun. They go on there, and then you have to scribe around it, and then you cut the leg to fit so it fits up to the bottom. So you can see how it doesn't fit now, and it will fit in the next picture. So there it is, scribed, got it roughed out, turn it back around. Then you can throw them in there. And you can see now they fit really nicely against the bottom. See that? So after that, you have to level the table. So I'm shooting for an angle on these legs, but like I don't really care if it ends up exactly perfect because it's mid-century modern and nothing is ever straight or square or anything like that. So whatever is wrong will look right. So all you do for this is you just measure down from the tabletop to the surface it's sitting on, try to get them all about the same. You should always be able to do that by only wedging one leg, which I've done there. And then you rescribe all the legs. You can see me scribing the legs there. So, and then you cut them to fit. And the last thing you have to do, you don't have to do this step, but I always like to. I always assume my glue will fail someday. So what I'm doing here is actually splitting that tenon down the length, and then I will wedge it from the top side. And so that's where this table is now. So you cut your wedges, drive them in, and then even if you didn't put glue in, this 100% would stay forever. So that's where this table is now. Aside from cutting these tops off, see they're still a little bit proud, that is one table pretty much done. So, Billy, come on, man. You got to give me something to aim at. Here? Yeah? Table? You've all seen a table. It's nothing that exciting. But again, these are pretty cool. If you have clean hands, come up and touch them. They are extremely soft. I don't sand anything, so you can just kind of get that like mirror polish feel off it. It's pretty sweet. And if you want to see how the other ones go together, I'll be working on that immediately after here. So hope it helps. Yeah, Brian.
How do you determine the height on a table or a coffee table?
So a coffee table should be no higher than 2 inches below the seat height of your couch. So depending on the height of your couch, it just kind of depends. A coffee table can always look fine lower, but never taller. Taller, it just looks like this weird TV tray kind of thing in front of you. Personal opinion, but you know what they say about my opinion. It's always right. So yeah. Hopefully maybe next week I'll come in with an update on how my dyeing experience is going. So I'm using, what are they called? It's an amine-based dye. It's how they get the cool colors on like Fender and Gibson guitars, aniline dyes. So I'm gonna try my hand at some aniline dyes, trying to bring the color from like pure white down to like a orangish, something that like pops the grain a little bit more. So we'll try that out. So yeah.
How are you gonna knock the tops of the legs off?
I don't know. Figure it out. Probably start with the chisel and then I'll clean it up with a hand plane. So I got them relatively close before. I don't know. I got it like 1/4 inch. It'll come off pretty quick. So yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Last up on the list is Hillary, who's going to show a fire thing.
So, I made this for a friend about a year ago. And I called on help from people here, and I don't remember who did the welding for me, but whoever it was, I appreciate it if you're sitting out there. And Billy helped me doing some milling, but this was supposed to be a indoor fire pit thing. And I made it for a friend. It was a little bit too big, but I made it out of a camp stove. And I found out that the burner on the stove has a very, very small, tiny, teeny, tiny hole in it, and it's extremely loud and annoying. So you have to drill that hole out to allow a little bit freer flow if you don't want it to be hissing the whole time that you're using it. So it does take slight response. You have to be slightly responsible because otherwise you can get a flame like that tall. I also made this silly little coat hanger thing with a brass fitting and a little hook because it gets really flippin' hot when you put it in the fire, but I put frankincense in there and like stick it on the fire and it makes the house smell good. So that's what that's about. This was like the first, I don't know, quite a while. I haven't run out yet. Now, I haven't used it a ton, but I haven't run out yet. And this has got like magnets in it, so that's just what holds it on there. The side just popped right off. So.
Does the rock sit on a screen or?
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a holy metal, and I just switched that out. So it was some of that scrap that we got donated to us with all the little holes in it. Yeah, I think we're going to get a little bit of a woof this time. It takes just a second sometimes, and it's finicky because yeah, I'm watching the microphone, Billy. So there you go. It's very pleasant sitting in your house with it going. It actually puts a little bit of heat off. I enjoy it. You can adjust the flame, like I say, so you can turn it down. And you can turn it up. And there we go. So that's the downside to it is that when you turn it off, it's got a big bowl underneath that just like the gas just sits there and it'll like flicker for like 5 minutes or something, which is fine because it's burning the gas off. But since I'm getting ready to carry it, I didn't want that right in my face while I was carrying it. Yes?
Why did you choose wood
Because
closure?
it looks nice, and wood to me is natural and kind of fits very well with fire. Yes?
I would just like to know what Russell thinks of your lamp.
I was gonna make some big pickup truck comment or something, but you know,
Natural lamp.
yeah. So yeah, I like it. Brian?
Can you cook any hot dogs over
No. No, I will say though that when you put the frankincense on here, if you're not careful, it'll put off a lot of smoke, and I have set off the fire alarm that way.
All right, thank you very much. That's the last of the list tonight. We do have a few classes coming up. Most of our classes coming up are in mid-January or beyond, I guess because of the Christmas time, but we do have a few. Tomorrow is a board meeting. If you are a member and want to join that, you're always welcome to. That's at 7 o'clock. We'll put a link in the chat. Friday at 6 is Make a Mallet class. It's sold out, never mind. Next Wednesday is a laser off class. I did notice there's a couple slots open for that. It's sold out too, never mind. That's it for the classes for the rest of the month. The remaining scheduled ones are in January. Beyond that, can I get a volunteer to take out the trash tonight? Anybody? Yep, okay, and the filters, anybody? All right, thank you very much. That's all that we have tonight. Yes?
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I've seen some of you before. I came once before. My name's Margaret Slattery, and I work with the ACE program. It's a CNC machining, and I know that several of you have taken that, and just so you know, it's open to everyone. So if you're interested in machining, there will be classes at Pellissippi, TCAT Knoxville, Roan State, UT, throughout the year, and we can let you know what that's going to be. But I wrote a story about several of you that took the class, and that's on our website, and it's on our social media as well. So I know that David had commented. We'd love for you to check that out. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn's our biggest.
What do we search for?
America's Cutting Edge.
Yeah. Yeah, David Nelson posted a link with the video in our chat, I think this morning, right? Yeah, so that's there in the All Members channel if you're interested in learning more. So with that, that's all that we have. We're just going to go play in the workshop. If you are new and need a tour, come up and see me or someone with a red badge, and we'll get you a tour, answer any questions you need. Other than that, we're just going to go play in the workshop. So have fun.